All right, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously number one seed in the AFC, back-to-back reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, as we are, of course, legally required to say. The Chiefs have been facing a lot of criticism over the past few weeks and months with how they performed in some of the close games, but lost in the hustle and bustle of all this noise is a really incredible, I think almost historically unprecedented job by the Chiefs in terms of the position they put themselves in with their roster construction and week-to-week strategy. Exciting breakdown for you guys today. I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, this Chiefs team, obviously the record is outstanding, but people are complaining about their week-to-week performance, especially the close games, regardless of who they play. But I think it's important to understand what the Chiefs have done here goes beyond just are they blowing teams out or are they just finding a way to win close games. The reality is what we're seeing from the Chiefs every single week is part of a clear design and strategy. If you look at the way teams are structured, it kind of makes sense, right? If you are one of the best in a certain area, let's say you're the best passing team in the NFL, you're going to blow some teams out. But if you go against a really good coverage team and a really good pass rush team, you may lose the game and get blown out instead, right? You've got a lot of variability. Most teams are like that. They're great at a few things, they're bad at a few other things, and they just try and be great at maybe one more thing than they are bad. The bad teams are teams that are great at maybe one thing, but bad at a lot of things. And that's usually how it works out in the NFL, and that's how blowouts in either side happen. The Chiefs, very interestingly, and I think unprecedentedly, I'm going to say that again, have set up a roster that literally has no weakness. It has no incredible strength either, but no weakness. Let's pull up this first graphic. This is the PFF grade for the Kansas City Chiefs at all of the key areas. Going down the list here, you can see passing, they are ranked 7th, pass blocking, 8th, receiving, 18th, running 12th, run blocking 7th, run defense 7th, pass rush 8th, coverage 14th, special teams 19th, and an overall average of everything 11th, right? You can look at that and be very clear, right? They're not bad at anything. Their worst grade is 19 in that special teams, and they're not top 5 at anything either. Their best grade is 7th. They have that as a run blocking and at the passing game. So you can understand looking at this why the Chiefs don't get blowouts, right? They're not top 1, top 2, top 3 in the NFL in anything. But there's also a reason why the Chiefs don't lose either. It's because they literally have no weakness. Let's compare it to the top playoff contenders in the AFC. Let's pull up the second chart here. You can look at the teams, the Bills, Ravens, Steelers, Chargers, Texans, and Broncos. You can go through the list. I won't go through all of them, but you can see that every single team that is fighting for a playoff, that's in the playoffs as it currently sits, has a clear and defined weaknesses. The Bills can't stop the run, they have bad coverage. The Ravens, bad special teams and run blocking. The Steelers, pass blocking coverage. Chargers, rushing, receiving. Texans, tackling and run blocking. And the Broncos, receiving and run blocking. All of these teams have key weaknesses. All of these teams can and have been blown out at certain times this season. They've been outplayed by teams whose strengths align with those weaknesses in just a way that it's a bad matchup. The Chiefs have set up a team, and this is just absolutely bonkers stuff when you think about it, that cannot blow anybody out. But they also almost cannot lose either. And that is the ridiculousness of this Chiefs team that I think people need to pay more attention to. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this and my big rant. But first, Chiefs fans, in the comment section below, as we get ready for the final push getting into the postseason, what's the one position group that you think the Chiefs need to see more better play at? I'll say it like that, better play at as we get ready for the postseason. Is it the offensive line? Is it the defensive line? Running back room, receiver room, whatever it may be. Give us the one position group you want to see better play at the rest of the way to make you feel better about a third straight Super Bowl. Put that position in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts on all of this and just everything with the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, Nick, I think your diagnosis of the Chiefs is really interesting because if you look at the roster, and we are talking about this season currently, it is this season, and all factors that have affected this season are affecting these rankings as well. So when I say this, no, you could say, well, we got this guy, but that guy's hurt. So that is affecting all of this. But I think the way their roster is constructed this season as well is very similar and it speaks loudly to the charts that you say. And I said, of course, but I'm saying just like one key player trying to buy other mediocre to bad players, but it keeps everything pretty average. If you look, let's say, at the offensive line, you have two superstar interior guys in Creed Humphrey and Thuney, but then the outsides of the exterior, the tackles, they're not as good. Partially, like I said, mainly due to injury here, but you're really weak at the tackle play. But that gives you overall a pretty average offensive line. You look at the defensive line, you're average across the board, like mid to low 60s grades until you get to Chris Jones, who's the anchor of that line, who really elevates the play and gets you to be there. You look at the linebacking core, everybody again, mid 60s, but then you have Leo Chenal, who's been doing really great stuff. He's ranked fifth, 82 overall for him. And then you look at the on the last part of the defensive side of the ball, you look at the defensive back group. Trent McDuffie obviously is going to be the highlight there. So all over there, they got one guy that's really helping out at getting their grades up, being the backbone of each one of those things. Then obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, so that boosts up all of the wide receivers and tight ends, I would say. And then you got a lot of average at the running back position as well, which I think is helped out as the great run blocking interior part of the offensive line. So I think when you look at this team, every part where they're weak, traditionally, whether it's by injury, whether it's by PFF grade, they're helped out by another part of the team. Weak running back room, a lot of injuries at the running back room. You have a great run blocking interior part of your offensive line. Gonna help out the running backs, bring those grades up. You got weak pass rush. You have, good linebacker behind you that's going to help out. You have Chris Jones, who's really great. He's going to help those out. I think they just built this team and kind of like how you asked the call to action question, where do you want to upgrade? I think that's what the Chiefs have been doing for a while is where are we weak and how can we get someone to come upgrade that? It's hard to upgrade every single player, but they've been systematically upgrading, signing, keeping guys because when you have Patrick Mahomes on such a big deal, it's hard to keep a ton of superstars, but like we need to make sure we're pretty solid at one position, every single position group, and have an anchor, cornerstone to this team, and then build around that and get everybody to help fill in and be beneficial to that one player. I think it's a really interesting strategy. This Chiefs team is unprecedented, and I think people really are going to be worried in playoffs when it comes around because, like you said, it doesn't matter how big you win. It just matters if you win, and it doesn't seem like the Chiefs are going to be doing a whole lot of losing.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to something you talked about is that those position groups where you said where they're weak in certain areas, for most of those position groups, they're not catastrophically bad either, right? They're just not good, right? So even where they're not, all those areas of so-called weakness in those, and at left tackle or whatever, or certain parts of the defensive line, it's not like they're like the worst in the NFL, right? You look at a lot of contenders, most of them have a position group where they're absolutely god awful or have a clear, glaring, just disastrous weakness waiting to happen. Even at the Chiefs' worst position groups, you look at the data and you can look at the performance on the field too. It kind of aligns. Their worst places are just okay, right? And then they have a couple stars to boost everything above average, and that's what makes them so incredible. Is that again, because of the fact that they're okay, basically 80% of the positions on the field, they're not going to blow people out. They're not going to win a lot of games 40-3 like they did maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But the reality is because they don't have any weaknesses, they literally, I'm going to keep saying this because it's absolutely bonkers to think about, they may literally not lose a game. They may not win a game by more than 5 points, but they literally may not lose a game the rest of the way. And it's all because of how this roster is structured. Incredible job by the Chiefs front office and coaching staff. I think once again, a lot of people are sleeping on them just because of their final scores. I think they're the favorite to win their title this year. I think they're better than the Lions when push comes to shove, better than everyone in the AFC, strictly because they have no weakness.